Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Let's take another look here at SUI, see what's going on. Double checking a few key factors here. First of all, this pattern here is invalidated since we did come lower than our first wave. What's good about this though is that we're probably only in our second wave up here, which is a very good sign. So the truth is, we're going to draw that out and calibrate that later. For now, what we want to focus on is our key fib levels to kind of anticipate what could happen next if the price does pull back. Specifically to fill this fair value gap, there is potential for that. There's also understandings the fact that we have more macro things in play here. Okay, so again, larger time frames do kind of express that we are probably due to continue higher. Some folks were asking if we're going to retest our recent highs. I think that's a very lofty goal. Most coins do not do that, regardless of how strong they are. It's very rare. So just please understand the odds of that happening is low. And I was talking to one of my community members earlier, just mentioning that you're gonna take a long to $2, for example, you may want to be responsible, use a spot trade so you're not eating up on fees. If you are going to take a leverage trade, just make sure you have a trailing stop loss, something that comes up with a price in case the price rakes back down. Okay, and that should be adjusted based on your own risk tolerance. So just some things to kind of think about. Either way you look at it, still bullish on SUI. There's no other way around it. It's looking pretty strong. Speaking of bullish, let's quickly identify some awesome stuff here. Look at that, SUI, 85% in 5 days for our long position with SUI. Bitcoin, 30%, and Cardano, 32%. So those are all longs. We're avoiding shorts at this moment because the bottom is tentatively in. Most coins, including, or more specifically, Bitcoin itself, is exuding mostly bullish signs. While we haven't broken bullish on the macro exactly, we're getting close. A lot of smaller signs are starting to add up to make that bigger picture look better. So just a heads up on that. That does factor in here to SUI because no matter how much we like to admit or or disagree, perhaps the fact that matter is that SUI is performing very well, but it wouldn't be performing this well if Bitcoin hadn't found its bottom. Okay, and again, it's doing really well compared to Bitcoin, but on the same accord, if Bitcoin didn't have any legs to stand on, we were still moving towards the 40K range. SUI would still be struggling. Okay, you got to recognize that. So all the more reason to watch my Bitcoin videos daily. Before we get started though here, I think we already started rather, go ahead and hit the like button, comment below, do that on every video. It really helps get this in front of more people who deserve a fighting chance to not get destroyed by other moon boys that are telling you everything's going to go to $2, $3, $4. Well, that's a possibility, it's not a probability, okay? Again, we go on statistical probabilities here, and right now, yeah, further upside makes sense. It's just not that egregious. All right, so here, take a look here. We can see 110 to 115, pretty solid amount of liquidation. If we zoom in with a macro time frame, we can see each one of these bars is roughly 700 million. So what, 7 times 5? We're looking at, wow, about $3.5 billion in liquidation from 107 to 115. Okay, so just know that exists. We can also know that there's a lot more liquidation on the downside, but I think going to 75 cents is a very low probability at this moment. Okay, again, Bitcoin makes a run towards low 50K range. Different story altogether, but Bitcoin has a lot of reasons not to do that right now. It's got a very, very good amount of volume, and it's with its point of control below the price right now. Again, mostly confirming bullish behavior for Bitcoin, and in turn, that's going to translate here for SUI, right? Very, very solid coin. So let's take a look here. We had our bull flag breakout with the price action retraced. We'll actually look at that in smaller time frames. From a macro perspective, just know there is still half of a fair value gap that hasn't been filled with this massive candle here. I think that, again, the odds of that happening is pretty low, but just know somebody has a pretty big bag of SUI. And there's a solid chance that if they wanted to dump it all, we might be able to see that price action happen again. Once again, very low probability. So what probabilities do we have here? Well, we're above 3 out of 4 moving averages. We're coming up to that resistance range here. Now, again, previously we had this previous resistance range based on daily candlestick closures, but also liquidation. We can also recognize here the 200 SMAs right there. So there's a solid chance that we're going to see some resistance here soon at 110 to 115. I do not think we're going to just blast straight through that. If there's a massive short squeeze, perhaps, there might be some short squeeze out here at 115 or higher. But once more, the probability of breaking through that the first attempt is pretty low. All right. Now, this is not a good looking cup and handle, but if it were to be, we might see a retest of that, maybe a double top, price pullback, bounce off local fib levels, and continue higher. We're going to talk about that later, of course, because that's not here yet, but that's a general consensus of what you want to try to look for. Let's go ahead and draw out a trend line here too. Just kind of pay attention, see what's going on in the overall sense here. Because again, when you look at trend lines, they're really, in most cases, going to be running concurrent with moving averages. We'll see that probably reflect on the 4-hour. But we can already kind of see the 50-day SMA running parallel with that. And again, the 200 or the 20-day SMA will also, in most cases, run with it. And the whole point of that isn't that these lines are just magical lines that the price action continues because it's a support or resistance. It's just letting us know that in the last 20 or 50 days, the average price has been here. The price being above that implies it's bullish, right? It implies that it's a good sign to buy in the direction the price is heading instead of going against the grain. So if you're trying to short and find the top here with SUI, because you're just that badass that likes to post your high risk trades on social media, well, first of all, you're probably watching the wrong channel because that's not what we do here. But more important, that's just a really sad and pathetic way of trading, because you should trade for yourself and to grow your portfolio, not to boast or any of those things there. Either way, comment below if you have any different opinions there. Either way, what I want to talk about here, though, is that we're under 70 on the RSI. We have more room for growth. Stochastic is topping out. TSI is very high, getting closer to its highest point. And we can see MACD converging. So we're getting closer to a resistance, and there is potential for pullback. We may have even seen that pullback already, because you can see this price action is pulling here to the downside. However, this fair value gap is an important thing to recognize, and we got to understand that there's potential for the price to come down and pivot and bounce off that level. Now, from a macro perspective, generally speaking, or at least this macro fib effectively from Sunday the 1st till now, that's roughly 12 days of trading. In the last 12 days of trading, we can see this 0.382, 0.5, 0.678 levels are below the price. These are 3 common areas of retracement. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but those are just things we want to be mindful of, okay? Those are the more common ones. Now, the trend reversal in most cases is losing that 0.236 fib level. So if we do that, we drop below $1, we probably want to respect and wait for the price to pull back a little further. I think we lose $1, we're probably more likely to see this fair value gap filled at 95 cents. Me personally, just thinking out loud, I'm going to set an alert around 95 cents, kind of see roughly where we're at there at that point. If it's worth taking a trade, I might consider it. Again, this is a good place to consider a trade because we have our local high here. You can see pretty definitive. This area has been retested multiple times to break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times it couldn't break. The likelihood of retesting that level is fairly high. So once again, this 95, actually it's 96 cents. 96 cents is a distinct area in which we could see a bounce. Okay? That's what I'm going to be looking for. I like to find those kind of entry levels versus trying to short into it, for example. It just makes no sense. Everything's bullish and essentially not a good position to consider a short right now. Let's take a look at the hourly to see if that confirms. It does tell us here that we are all green lights here to leave our long position open. No reason to close the trade. Right now, we've already secured all profits in our trade at 85%. But again, we got in pretty good here back before this flag pattern emerged. Okay, so again, really good stuff in that regard. But once more, at this point, what we're looking at here is a lot of convergence here, a lot of good bullish type of scenarios here, letting us know that we're in really good shape. There's no reason to short into this coin. Like pretty much every single time frame tells us you're good. Having said that, the price is due to correct itself too, though. It would make sense for that to happen, right? Me personally, 96 cents, my money's on that. That's where I'm looking to take entry, at least for a second, another long. Now, as far as the big picture is concerned, if we're going to be kind of looking at the macro, just to kind of give you perspective, if we do take a look at previous resistance ranges, let me go ahead and remove this guy here. We can see we got a lot of resistance again at 115. The price has not gotten past that multiple times, multiple reattempts. Okay, so the first time we come up to 115, you may want to consider securing profit at 114, 113, something like that, to ensure you get filled and don't be one of those dummies that's just sitting there at a key level resistance, waiting to get filled because 500 other people got filled before you because you chose a round number. Okay, don't do that. It's not appropriate. If you ever see any of my trade signals that I send out, they're always in these they're not round numbers. They're kind of funky odd numbers, and they're usually below or above key fib levels depending on which direction we're heading. Okay, so again, areas of retracement, they just have a larger statistical probability. And to those who are considering, the price action going to $2 based on some unique and egregious, macro type of Elliott wave stuff, while that's a possibility, it's not a large probability at this point. Again, macro movements right now are not really a thing for the moment as far as like really, really big moves. So I would just be cautious and careful. If you are going to do that, again, just to preface, make sure you use a spot trade so you're not eating up on fees. And if you do use it, leverage, make sure you use trailing stop loss to ensure that you can secure profit if the price does pull back. So again, just some friendly advice there. Either way, thanks again so much for watching. Please hit the like button, comment below. You get a chance. Oh, don't forget to join us and our partners down below, BTCC and BitUnix, phenomenal exchanges. Absolutely love working with them. They're really good to our community too, really good benefits. We'll see you in the next one. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. Take care.